Yes, we do. Member Hoover also just joined.
Okay. Okay, we'll get started. Welcome to all. I'd like to call the December 19, 2024 Kansas Post-Secondary Technical Education Authority meeting to order. Before we move forward with the agenda, I need to remind everyone, this TEA meeting is a regular scheduled conference call meeting being held via Zoom. Please mute your microphones, TEA members, board staff, or institutional staff. And when they have comments or questions, should ask to be recognized. Everyone other than the recognized speaker should keep their microphone muted. Each time you are recognized to speak, please state your name and your title before you begin so that we can be readily identified by listeners as well as observers. For each item or action item, I will state a motion and ask if someone will make that motion. For each motion made, I will then ask for a second. For each motion made and seconded, we will not do a roll call vote for approved of the minutes, and we do not need a motion, second, or vote for recess or adjournment unless a TA member requests one. We will not have an opportunity for public comment during this meeting, and we will not have an executive session during today's meeting. So first of all, let me ask if there are any changes or additions to the agenda. Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes from our previous meeting. They should be in your packet. Are there any changes to these minutes? And if not, do I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
Mr. Chairman, Curtis moves to approve the minutes.
Okay, second.
This is Mike. I'll second it.
Okay, are there any opposed? None, so we will call the motion carried. Okay. Introductions. Are there any introductions anyone would like to make? I think Charmin, you may have an introduction.
Yes, sir, I do. Thank you. We have welcomed just the week of Thanksgiving. We have welcomed Brandy Wells to our team. She's our workforce development specialist. She comes to us most recently from the Healthcare Stabilization Fund, and she has been a third grade as well as a first grade special education teacher. And you all will get to meet her in person in January. We're excited to have her join the team.
All right, thank you. Welcome, Brandy. Anyone else? Any other introductions? Okay, if not, we'll move on to the chair's report. I do have a couple things that I want to mention. Recently, I've been traveling to parts of Kansas for some other work that I do. But it's been interesting in my travels how I've been reminded just how important the work of the technical colleges and the community colleges is for our state, local communities, and the lives of individuals. Recently, while I was in Western Kansas in Ness City, I talked with a young man who had recently completed his welding program at North Central Tech in Beloit. He currently works for a company that provides services to farmers and ranchers. And he spends a lot of his time, he said, utilizing the welding that he learned at North Central. But what really interests me as he and I visited is the relationship he formed with the instructor. Certainly inside the classroom, but now it extends outside of the classroom. He said he may run into a problem in his welding and he will send a picture and consult with his instructor, and they've continued to maintain that relationship. But it's one that was formed while he was at North Central Tech. So it was very interesting to hear his story. And then in early December, I attended a Special Olympics event in Topeka. And there was this event was to honor volunteers in their Special Olympics program. And there was a young lady that was sitting across from me in the event and uh, from Wichita. And she told me that she was working full time for an aviation company in Wichita and taking courses online from Cali Community College. And she said what's so meaningful and helpful to her is that with her full-time job, she's grateful that she can get her degree while working full-time online. So once again, interesting to hear the way that that has helped her and benefits her uh, in her full-time job. And then this past week, I met with a young man who had recently completed his associate degree from Butler Community College. It was interesting that he stated that he started at a university, but for some reason, he said it wasn't bad, it just didn't feel right. And he said, well, maybe he wasn't quite ready for that biggest step. So enrolled at Butler, and he said it just began to feel right for him. He said the smaller classes, and the other part that was meaningful, he said, is getting to know the instructor because of the class size. And he does plan, he said, to continue his education and get his bachelor's degree, but he was very grateful for the experience that he had at Butler, particularly with the relationships he formed with the instructor. And then last night, I visited with a young man who was in the apprenticeship program at Viga Manufacturing in McPherson, and they are a German company, but have a plant there and pretty significant presence in McPherson. And this young man is a recent high school graduate, and it's impressive that the Viga's internship or apprenticeship program, he's already making over $20 an hour. But also the other part of that story is that he is taking classes at Hutch Community College to obtain certain certifications that Viga is requiring. And it's because of the relationship that Hutch and Viga have together that Viga pays 100% of his education at Hutch, and as long as he maintains the C average. I did remind him of that was important. But again, here's a young man recently graduating from high school, earning a decent amount of money, and taking full advantage of the relationship that Hutch and Viga have. But I must say, all of these meetings reminded me that we at the TEA, we often hear and see facts and figures, but the real success story, the lives of the individuals who are changed forever as a result of the work of our technical colleges and our community colleges. So just a snapshot, and it was interesting in having been to these places for other reasons, that I would have the opportunity to exchange and conversations with these individuals and find that all of them have a story. And it's a very positive story because of the work of our tech colleges and our community colleges. So that's my report. Anyone else, any other TA members have a report of their activities?
Ray, this is Mike. I don't necessarily have a report of activities, but wanted to remind the community and technical colleges that are in the meeting today of the FRAME grant program, fostering residential advancement through mentoring and education. It's a grant opportunity to support the construction of a home or homes. I think there's $2 million available, and awards will be between $250,000 and $1 million. Grant applications are accepted through Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2025. I just think it's a great opportunity. A lot of our community and technical colleges obviously have construction trades-based programs, and not only an opportunity to mentor and train students, but an opportunity to create housing within the communities, and proceeds from the sale of the house go back into the program to continue to build and expand housing within the community. So February 14th is the deadline.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone else? All right. I'll take that as move on. So that's what we'll do. Next on our agenda, we have a report from Vice President April White, provide us with a report on the workforce development activities. So April, you're
Thank
it.
you. Yeah, thank you, Chair Frederick and members of the authority. The past month or so, our adult ed team has been pretty busy. They held a retreat at Manhattan Area Technical College to plan the next 5 years, their strategic plan for the next 5 years. So we do thank Jim and his staff for allowing us to come over to his facility. They are also finalizing the adult ed federal narrative and the financial reports, which are due December 31st, which is an inconvenient day, but we will get it turned in. They have also done what they're calling an adult education portrait. For each of our education or adult ed centers, we have a portrait of their work from 2022, 23, and 24. So if anybody would like a copy of those, we would be happy to send those out. The Perkins team attended a Brustein conference, learning the new monitoring requirements for the Perkins grant. And our workforce development team has been working on our annual reports, including KTIP, which is required by the legislature. And they are currently finalizing the Excel and CTE fee data collection. I believe right now the data collection is closed. All colleges are reviewing their fees, and that should be finalized this week, and we will bring it to you in January. I would stand for questions.
All right, thank you, April. Any questions, comments for April? If not, we'll move on our agenda to President Seth Carter of Colby Community College. Bring us a report and update from our community colleges. Seth, you're on.
Thank you, Chair Frederick. Yes, Seth Carter, Colby. I want to wish everybody happy holidays. Appreciate the work everyone is doing. And we're having the meeting close to the holidays, so I think we're probably having a little bit more sparse attendance than most times, but appreciate the work that everyone is doing. Do want to remind everyone on here, we are going through, and all 19 community colleges are reporting out at different points in regards to KBOR strategic pillars. So right now we did complete Pillar 1. We have now moved on to Pillar 2, which is going to be the business component. This is going to focus on the talent pipeline and innovation. So I think you'll see some really wonderful things going on. I know when President Jeanette talks on his as well, I just think there's so many positive things going on throughout the two-year sector. But when you go through and look at this, the first college I want to focus on is Independence Community College. They have received a variety of different grants that have came through. The first one being the NSF ATE grant. This was a $220,000 grant that specifically focuses on success in mathematics. This is through a project-based learning experience. In the proposal, faculty and staff will receive financial support to explore ways to improve mathematics curriculum through better utilization of our on-campus fabrication laboratory. The next thing they wanted to focus on was the NSF EPIC grant. Within this grant, this is going to be more on the raising rural economic development innovation for those of us that are in the rural communities, as Chair Frederick said, he got out to Northwest Kansas. He stopped at Beloit. I think Northwest Kansas comes a little further out this way if you make that road very much. But going through and looking at, they received a tremendous grant in the amount of $2,225,000. And this really touches on a variety of operations in terms of what they do. This has ties out to the K-12 curriculum. It also focuses on ICC's Fab Lab, trying to work with a regional office within Independence. They'll seek apprenticeship and internship opportunities through youth pursuing post-secondary career opportunities. They'll work with the Delaware Tribe of Indians. The tribe's office, Kansas, and Caney, Kansas, will benefit from the Mobile Fab Labs educational tours, extending this resource to the tribe's wider community, as well as the William Minge Center for Arts. Again, the project focuses on serving rural schools, increasing post-secondary education success. You will see they have a pathways advisor, professional tutor, K-12 Fab Lab, learning facilitator, higher education recruiter, and the initiative targets approximately 2,000 students across 12 high schools in their region. Additionally, wanted to highlight their undergraduate welding program had a 100% employment outcome following graduation. Moving on to Johnson County Community College. Johnson County Community College, staying in that same vein within the welding program, they did expand beyond their 90 students by building virtual simulation labs. This allowed them to meet industry need by allowing up to a 20-student expansion. And then continuing to move on, they did wind up with their associate degree nursing program, having a 98.25% first-time NCLEX pass rate, which is another tremendous accomplishment. Their plumbing program is now 2 years old. It's had 11 associate applied science degrees during the last graduation cycle. They've had 40 students reach the certificate level. Their CNA program saw a near record enrollment as well, with over 200 successful completions. Again, touching those areas in a variety of different ways, whether it's in healthcare, in manufacturing, or if it's going to be in the plumbing side of it, just doing a lot to give back to those various industries. Johnson County Community College has also expanded its College Ready program to 2 new high school districts in their service area, beginning in the fall of 2025. The program brings nearly 100 well-prepared high school juniors and seniors to campus to engage in classes each semester. Last spring, the program yielded a dozen Associate of Arts degrees, completed coterminous with high school graduation in their area, meaning those students graduated from the same time from their high school as they were from the community college as well. The college also continues to look towards the future, considering new programming to add to the portfolio in lines with the needs of the community and industry. They are marking a 10-year facilities master plan to forecast the space needed to expand advanced manufacturing, healthcare, computer science, and other programs. KCK also has a tremendous amount of different initiatives going on in that Kansas City area. You will see that KCK and Orange EV have offered the first apprenticeship in electrical vehicle production. Again, just some really great initiatives going on within that area, but the apprenticeship requires 288 contact hours, and it can be completed as little as 1 year. The first cohort began August 19th of this year. So in the fall of 24, this apprenticeship program does receive the full benefit of full-time employment with guaranteed wages that increase incrementally as they continue to advance throughout the program. KCK apprentices complete 11 credit hours, which is the equivalent of 165 contact hours of CTE coursework, and they do this in the variety of automotive and electrical technology. Orange EV also provides KCK students scholarships for its employees. KCK also engages in the industry and advanced manufacturing robotics apprenticeship. You can see another just wonderful initiative where they're focusing on advanced manufacturing, and they've created a pathway for students to earn an Associate of Applied Science in automation nearly debt-free. The other part of this is the FAME member companies also support the Robotics Technician Registered Apprenticeship programs. The Robotics Technician Apprenticeship is 788 contact hours for the program, in which KCK provides a 52 credit hour course to complete the program. KCK and the University of Kansas Health System has partnered to advance the health system's workforce. KCK partners with the University of Kansas Health System to provide an on-site GED program through the health system Because We Care program. The on-site program allows these students within the respective company. To date, 27 individuals have taken advantage of that. You will also see that KCK offers the third shift evening options for working students. What this means is that KCK will offer evening programs in electrical technology, welding, HVAC, and industrial maintenance trying to help students have the ability to have full-time employment and seek these to advance their life at night. They've also introduced some more short-term certifications. They added a certification A in HVAC. They have certificate B in welding at Lansing Correctional Facility. The college is currently reviewing 2 additional Cert A's as a proposal in AET and surveying technology. Also, they've updated their technical lab spaces. They've gone through and made improvements and an expansion on the AET lab to nearly 9,000 square foot place at their Technical Education Center. Additionally, the college recently rebuilt the HVAC labs at both its Technical Education Center and main location to segment and support curriculum space training in separate parts of the lab. They have also partnership with AAC, ACC, Panasonic Energy of North America, Tesla, and other colleges to develop apprenticeship models in EV manufacturing and battery production. Again, just a tremendous amount of robust different things that they're getting involved with. And they continue to collaborate with the University of St. Mary to augment a bachelor's degree program and support construction trades. They are collaborating with the University of St. Mary's on a dual enrollment initiative. The program currently being piloted allows USM students to enroll concurrently in KCK trades programs offered at the PCC while completing their baccalaureate degrees. And a really unique project that's going on that's going to affect a lot of Kansas. They have partnered with Community America Credit Union and Swope Health as KCK continues construction on the KCK Community Foundation Health and Wellness Center. Demolition and site work have begun on the facility. The project estimation is $75 million, and to date, the partnership has raised $67.8 million in cash, pledged, and in-kind contributions. Again, just some tremendous work going on there. Moving on to Labette Community College. Labette Community College has had a tremendous amount of outcomes with their health and human service programs. They had a 100% respiratory graduation rate, passing their students on their national boards. Secondly, 100% of their 2024 nursing graduates passed their national boards. Their radiography program also had 100% of its graduates pass their national boards for the 9th straight year. So that means 100% of those students taking those classes all earn their certifications, and that's something Labette should absolutely be commended on. Their diagnostic medical sonography program also had 100% of their students who set for their national exams pass. Every LCC graduate from the 4 health science programs who took their national exams passed. Really great work that's going on there, and President Watkins should be very proud of that. It almost seems boastful to post all of that information consecutively like that, but we'll allow that to occur. But they did a tremendous job. They were also recognized as having, amongst all programs in the state of Kansas, regardless of level, they were recognized as the Kansas Regents University Program's 4th overall program. In addition, the nursingprocess.org rated LCC's associate degree in nursing program as the top community college nursing program in the state of Kansas. LCC's health science programs continue to place highly demand skilled labor throughout the state of Kansas and clinics at Labette Health through the 4-state region. They had a 96% placement of their health graduates were placed in their intended fields of study, many earning over $60,000 from completing their 2-year degree. And that is just starting off. On the innovation side, the sonography program is a program which attracts students throughout the country. One graduate is now the director of radiology in the department in a Minnesota hospital. The hospital has now implemented a program to pay the cost for their employees interested in pursuing their DMS certification at LCC, and they want to reserve 5 positions within the program. Texas A&M Medical School, the College Station, Texas, contacted the DMS staff and are now working to develop a relationship whereby their students will take the LCC sonography courses as part of Texas A&M's medical program. Again, just some wonderful partnerships you'll see throughout the state. Neosho County Community College, their health programs show outstanding pass rates. Their certified nurses aide, certified medical aide, occupational therapy assistant, associate degree in nursing, licensed practical nurse, and surgical technology students together achieved a 94.64% success rate in 2023-2024. Again, please keep in mind, several of those programs only count a first-time pass rate, so those students were passing on their first attempt. Additionally, the industry-recognized technical skills assessment in construction, HVAC, and welding have been incorporated into the curriculum of the program, and the students have achieved 100% success in those attempted assessments. Lastly, health information technology graduates show a 100% employment rate within 1 graduation year of completing NCC. NCCC is attracting new students with our automotive technology program and lab. The state-of-the-art laboratory is equipped with the newest technology related to training for their automotive service technicians. Their outreach and workforce development team has generated activities through this past year to promote CTE education, from newsletters and high school visits to career fairs and community events. They have generated 12,653 contacts through 119 activities in 2024. Under the innovation component, NCC created an innovative interdisciplinary lab space for the construction, electrical technology, plumbing, and HVAC programs. The NCC Powerhouse is approximately 700 square feet, in which rooms can be built and rebuilt by students within the various programs. NCC is also participating annually in an NC3 National Signing Day to highlight and honor those students who choose to enroll in their CTE programs. Much like the honor high school students who are recruited to a collegiate sport, this event recognizes the students who are engaging in CTE programming. These students are introduced as the important event by their CTE instructor and meet with prospective employers. At Pratt Community College, completers of PCC's electrical power technology program have a 100% job placement rate and with an average starting salary of $72,000. According to KBOR wage data, these workers can earn up to $99,000 within 5 years of employment. PCC continues to increase the number of CNAs to serve all medical facilities within their respective area. And earlier this month, to highlight an individual faculty member, Max Caldwell, PCC automotive alumnus and current automotive faculty, was honored with the prestigious Technician of the Year Award from the National Institute for Automotive Service Excellence, ACE. To go through and look at some of the innovative partnerships that are occurring, they did partner with Barton Community College to deliver their LPN, RN nursing programs to on-Pratt campus students. The partnership is in 3-year for RN and year 2 for the LPN. Barton uses PCC's classrooms, skills labs, and simulation facility at no cost to Barton. The students are passing the NCLEX with a 100% first-time pass rate. Also, Pratt continues to partner with Dodge City, Coffeyville, and Wichita State Tech to offer the electrical power technology programs within those respective campuses. Together with the Pratt locations, over 100 students are being trained each year. PCC has also recently added a phlebotomy class to schedule to meet the identified area workforce needs. And lastly, Seward County Community College. Seward County Community College continues to expand its business industry offerings across all sectors, providing specialized training among all services in the business in Southwest Kansas. Since 2020, SCC has experienced a 45% increase in business industry enrollment. SCC has experienced massive growth in all tech programs and was willing to expand those to several more programs to meet the needs of those student growth. SCC is in finishing phase 1 of the new West Campus, which will be home to the Diesel Tech CDL programs. This will allow them to expand enrollment within the CDL program by 235%. SCC has had an 85% NCLEX RN pass rate last year. Again, that is a first-time pass rate. Under the innovation portion, SCC worked with National Beef to create short-term tech programs to improve the skills of new hires at their Liberal facility. They will also be working to provide students with a better career path for National Beef. Lastly, SCC worked with Skyland Grant to develop a new program to serve the needs of the grain elevator field. This program was an excellent partnership and was supported by grant funds as well. This will allow them to harvest up to 80 acres of soybeans and then store them on the new on-campus grain elevator to be used for the production of biodiesel. So you can see just a tremendous amount of different initiatives going on across the state, touching various workforces throughout all the different manufacturing skills, health and human services, just a variety of initiatives that are occurring. But I stand for any questions or concerns as presented.
Okay, thank you, Seth. Any questions, comments from TEA members? Well, clearly a lot of good work going on and, very impressive on the pass rate and the placement rates. Wow. I mean, it's, I don't know how you get much better than what you presented. So congratulations to all of those institutions. So, all right, we'd like to call on President Jim Jeanette, Manhattan Area Technical College, for an update from our tech colleges.
Good afternoon. Like Seth and his group, our group does pretty darn good stuff too. So together you got 26 two-year colleges, basically kicking butt in the state of Kansas, and we'll continue to do so. So a few highlights, similar to Seth's approach, looking at the KBOR strategic plan. Flint Hills Tech helping a lot of families in their area in several ways. One is they keep expanding what they're offering in Spanish, including more admissions work. industrial engineering tech in Spanish. That's a good outreach, especially to the underrepresented populations in their area. Their dental hygiene students attended the Oral Health Kansas Conference so that they could get an understanding of policy issues and advocacy related to good dental health and the whole dental profession. On advancing economic prosperity, as you've seen in the news, Emporia is getting hammered lately with some economic bad news. As you know, Flint Hills has stepped up to work with Tyson, with the workers who will be affected by that shutdown, and working with the city. They're giving information to the workers and their families about adult education, ESL courses, short-term courses like in CNA, CMA, et cetera. How they can use the Kansas Promise Act to help people stay in the area, get reskilled, move into other companies. The data on the Tyson issue is that about 40% of the folks are between 18 and 24, 80% are Spanish speaking. So I know Salina Tech and ourselves have also reached out to Flint Hills Tech to offer any help we can to help them keep those folks skilled and employed in the area. They're getting hit as well with shutdown of a long-term care facility, Holiday Resort. And again, Flint Hills is stepping up to do what they can on the healthcare manpower issue. Here at Manhattan Tech, we're working on implementing the Patterson Family Foundation grant that we received. This will allow us to go into our surrounding counties around Riley County with a mobile VR lab to work both on recruiting, but also as an instructional lab aimed at industrial technology, construction tech, industrial maintenance tech, those areas. We will have a second VR lab that we'll be rebranding and refitting as well, that we hope to tag probably into the healthcare arena for our region. The Patterson project will be working with area school districts, companies, Fort Riley, et cetera. Part of it is designed to show how we are tapping into the rural communities around us and driving more skilled workforce into those communities for small businesses. We're working with Manco and Florence Corporation locally. Our ESL folks are going on site, working with the employees who are not English speaking, so they can understand company policies, procedures, OSHA information. We've had over 1,000 persons use our ESL program in the past 6 years. Fort Hays Tech North Central, which I still have trouble saying sometimes, they are super busy as well. They got a $750,000 Patterson Family Foundation grant to work on some new construction trades programs. So Mike, they may or may not go for frame with this. There's even less red tape with Patterson than with Commerce. Also, Fort Hays Tech North Central honored a longtime board member, Dale Montgomery, with a Hall of Fame award during their Founders Week in November. He's been a contributing member of their board since 1987, which is just amazing. Northwest, Fort Hays Tech Northwest also received a Patterson Family Grant, around $600,000, again, to work on construction in their area. This involves, similar to the Commerce proposal that many of us are looking at, construction in the related trades, HVAC, electrical, and plumbing, and how we can always keep sustaining these programs because everybody in our state needs affordable workforce housing. So we'll be watching Fort Hays Tech Northwest and North Central with their Patterson projects, seeing what ideas we can borrow from those folks. At Salina Tech, they're also working on housing with, guess what, a Patterson Family Foundation grant, which is good. We appreciate the support from the Patterson Foundation. Of course, they have their new building going up at Salina Tech. They've been growing very well over the last 9 years, both the college and the community, with some high wage, high demand jobs. They've had good success building some new programs, revising programs, and the graduation rate into new and revised programs is over 90% annually. They've been working on healthcare expansion because of the needs in their area, expanded their practical nursing program to meet the demand with part-time students. And oftentimes we all tend to overlook how can we help part-time students keep making progress and get to that completion point that helps them get better employment and puts more skilled workers in our communities. Their building is well underway. Interior spaces are getting some finishes installed, some additional exterior work. They've had good support from community businesses as well, working with their construction crew. So they're looking forward to having that done in the spring. Washburn Tech, they've had, again, many meetings working with the Topeka Public Schools, TCAL in particular. Recently, they announced the acquisition of the old Kmart building in North Topeka to allow for expansion of what they do through Washburn Tech. And the cool thing they do every year, they created over 1,000 toys through Washburn Tech for the Toys for Tots campaign. So in a few days, a lot of the kids in the Topeka area will be playing with Washburn Tech toys, which is always cool. Wichita Tech, they've moved to a new tuition model. It's a one price model. We're all going to be watching that and probably borrowing that idea as we go forward. They launched it in the fall of 24. It seems to be accepted by students. It's pretty transparent as far as what the funds are going for. So we appreciate their leadership in that area. Big congrats to WSU Tech for getting a Title III grant from the Department of Ed. These are transformational grants. We had one a few years ago. This will help them work with scholarships and basic needs for their students that are first generation. They also have a Patterson Family Foundation grant, and they'll be putting out a mobile lab to work on fast track training for fiber technicians to help with broadband implementation across the state. Again, thank you to TEA and KBOR with Wichita Tech for approving the new mental health technician and electrical programs. That mental health technician program is so needed. Excuse me. And again, many of us are going to be watching that and see what we can do to help them and or help our own areas with similar programs. And then another big announcement from them, Bell Helicopters chosen Wichita as the city to produce their new defense helicopter. So they're going to be working with Wichita State and Wichita Tech on the training that's needed. And Senator Moran was a big part of that, pulling that into the Wichita area. So congrats to all of them. Happy holidays to you all, and I'm glad to answer any questions or respond to any comments.
All right, thank you, Jim. Any questions or comments from our TA members? Jim, I'm just curious, do you know the backstory of that long-term care facility closing in Emporia?
I know very little. What I've heard, there have been some issues that were kind of masked for some time. Okay. And then again, some of the the recovery or reimbursement on insurance costs, different things. Okay. I think it's typical of what can happen in a lot of communities without good leadership, good administration, good oversight.
Yeah, definitely good oversight. You're right on that. Okay,
Chair
just
Frederick.
curious. Yes.
I do know some information on that. I lived in Emporia, so I followed that semi-close. They lost a key source of urban funding, and I don't know how they were ever eligible for it, but they also had locations in Florida, and they had a location somewhere else. And I don't know if the whole conglomeration went under, but it was a really tough deal because they had over 100 employees at that facility, and those residents were only given 1 week to transition. And then I believe the state of Kansas came back and said, you can't do that. You have to provide a minimum of 30 days because of, and I can't remember if it's the aging division of the state of Kansas, but tough situation. But it does sound like there were some external factors beyond the internal ones as well.
No, it's very unfortunate, especially for the residents. And yes, the community as well and the employees. So sorry to hear that. Anyone else? Okay, thanks again, Jim. Appreciate the information. Moving on in our agenda, we have 2 items from the Technical Program and Curriculum Committee on the consent agenda. And Mike, did you want to make any comment?
I don't have any comment, Ray, but I would move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay. Do we have a second?
This is Cindy. I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Cindy. Are there any questions or comments? Does anyone oppose? Okay, we'll consider motion passed then. Thank you. Okay, on our discussion agenda, first item, higher paths, and we're going to call on Kristen Brighton to provide us with an overview of higher paths. So Kristen, you're next.
Awesome. Thank you all for the opportunity to share with you about the exciting things that are going on at Higher Pass. And more specifically, after I introduce us, many of you are familiar, so I'll try to go quickly kind of over the what's Higher Pass for those of you that have heard me speak a few times before. But I want to share some results from a parent perception study we did this year that really shows the work all of us are doing to open up parents' eyes to all the options for their kids after they graduate from high school is really working with some Kansas specific data. So with that, let me go ahead and share my presentation. And I apologize to Jim and Mike and Natalie, who've probably heard this a time or two. They've all been great supporters of this program, so I was pleased to see that they're here today. So just giving you a quick overview. So again, I'm Kristen Brighton. I'm the owner of a marketing firm in Manhattan. I've been very involved in the Manhattan business community for, gosh, 15, 20 years now. And as part of that process, I was attending a lot of meetings in the 2015, 2016, 2017 era at the same time as I was raising some adolescent children. And I know that I was going to all of these meetings hearing about the needs that we had as a state to get more young people to go into so many of the different high demand professions that are taught in our technical and community colleges. But I knew as a mom, I wasn't hearing a lot of this information that I was hearing as a business leader. And so in 2018, I started speaking with people across the state who work in workforce development and pitched the concept of doing a marketing campaign geared towards parents. And so now fast forward almost 6 years later, this campaign has been up and running since 2021. And we have benefited from quite a bit of private investment from some of our state's employers, as well as 2 different rounds of federal ESSER grants. Right now, we're kind of looking at what's going to be next for us as far as funding, but we've really achieved quite a bit. And if you haven't been to our website at higherpass.com, there is so much content that we have developed for parents and teachers to really connect the kids in their world to all of the information they need to choose some of these high demand fields that we need our young people to go into. But again, we're not a curriculum, we're an educational campaign. And so you'll see billboards for us along the highway. You'll see television ads encouraging families to watch some of our commercials. We are all over digital media and we're trying to get information out into the hands of young people through those key adults in their lives, whether it's their parents or educators that they work with. I should probably be in this mode. Sorry about that. All marketing campaigns have a target audience. And so our primary target audience is parents. We believe that from birth on, parents, and when I say parents, I'm always being inclusive of all types of adults who could be raising children. So whether that's grandparents or foster parents, I'm including them all in my thoughts. But the idea is that as we're raising children just through everyday life, we're introducing them to careers that they may someday choose to go into, and that parents and the way they treat people, the way they talk about different careers are starting to bias kids for and against careers from birth on. So we really try to explain to parents that they are the child's first career counselor. And we want to get parents to be intentionally actively helping to shape their kids and help them to explore options that they can pursue after they graduate high school. So the marketing materials that we produce are promoted solely in the state of Kansas, except we do include the whole Kansas City, Missouri metro area to get that entire labor market in the metro. But other than parents, we also have 3 very important secondary audiences. So we include K-12 parents in that audience, K-12 kids, the kids themselves in the audience, then K-12 teachers as well. And then since we've been running over the last nearly 4 years now, we're very surprised at how many young adults are interacting with our content as well. We don't know how many of them are looking at it for themselves, or they also could include some young educators who are in that kind of 22 to 30-year-old range. But regardless, we know we're interacting with a lot of young people. And so we have added that as a third secondary audience for our marketing efforts. So as I said, if you haven't been to our website or followed us on social media, please do. We've got a lot of excellent content that I've worked with many of the people on this call with to develop over the years, really trying to get information into parents' hands that is useful for them, as well as make sure that educators are kept in the loop about all the new opportunities for their kids that have been developed in recent years. And we're also on all the key social media platforms. That's how we push our information out and get it in front of our target audiences. We have three core campaign messages. The first is that there are a variety of paths to a successful career. So we talk about that all of these paths are valid. It just depends on you, your learning style, your goals, the amount of money you want to invest in education, how much debt you want to take out, and so forth. So we talk about on-the-job training programs, apprenticeships, tech and community colleges, as well as colleges and universities. Our philosophy is very much that we don't care which of these paths you do, you can be successful if you follow any of them. We also talk about the fact that you can go into the workforce after high school and you can start your career without first earning a bachelor's degree or even an associate's degree. But the idea that people are lifelong learners and that many employers will actually reinvest in their employees and help them to go on and earn additional credentials and degrees after they enter the workforce. And then lastly, we want to try to erase any stigma that still exists in certain families, that there is somehow something less than to a child who decides they want to go into a technical or community college route instead of going to a four-year school. So we really want to celebrate all of these students and all the different options available to them and show that they're all ways to get into a successful career. So my team at New Boston Creative Group for the last 4 years has been developing a huge bank of resources of content. So whether they're social media posts telling people stories, such as the stories that our chair was sharing earlier at the beginning of our meeting tonight, talking about tools like the Kansas Promise Scholarship, introducing parents or teachers or even after school programs to activities and things you can do with kids to help them explore careers. We provide all sorts of resources and push them out to get them in front of people so they can expose children to different ways to learn about careers. Probably the most visible part of our program is our Cool Careers series, which is a series of short videos that are 5 to 10 minutes long that all star Kansas kids and Kansas businesses. And so we have filmed these all over the state. I like to say we've been everywhere from Ulysses to Pittsburgh, and we have been able to bring kids in and let them kind of interview and explore what it's like to do different professional jobs. And so we have 26 of these episodes that have gone live, a couple more in the can that will be released still yet this school year, and a long list of ones we want to do in the future, assuming we can figure out the funding model to continue this after our current grant is over with. So yeah, here's our next couple ones. So we just released a family practice physician, a civil engineer. It will come out in January. We recently filmed a land surveyor and an advanced manufacturing technician. So those are kind of on deck. So continuing to push out some great content there. And real quick, I'll show you the commercial that we've been running this fall to promote this series all across the state in different types of broadcast media. This is just a real short video.
Cool.
Kansas needs more kids like you and me to someday do important jobs like
In school. Let's go.
So if this was a new idea put in front of you, please do check us out. Again, like I said, we have 26 of these that are live, so you could spend a good couple of hours learning all about Kansas businesses, starring some really charming and smart Kansas kids from all across the state. So what I really wanted to share with you all today was the results of a research study that we did. So in 2019, when we were first starting to put together Higher Paths, we went to Kansas State Department of Education Commissioner Randy Watson and asked if his team would help us do some research that would really serve as the benchmark data for our study. We couldn't find any existing information specific to Kansas as to what parents thought about different post-secondary options. So we decided we wanted to create our own information. And so working with KSDE, we put together a survey that went out to parents across the state. It was pushed out through K-12 school districts. And believe it or not, we had 19,000 parents take this survey. So it gave us some really excellent initial data. Then we had a global pandemic and the world really changed, as we all know, but we were able to repeat this study this spring. We didn't have quite as many people participate, but we still had nearly 5,000 parents take this survey. So it's still statistically valid, a really strong group of information. But I've been trying to get this out in front of as many people as possible because it really shows that all the work that we've all been doing is really starting to have some results. There is a full version of this study that I did send to April. So if you want to see the whole thing, there'll be a link where you can get it online in this presentation, or I bet she could send it out to you. But this is some of the highlights. So I've already told us about the survey, so I'm going to skip through that. The survey was put out in English and Spanish, by the way. So we did give people the choice of which language to take it in. So just a couple of the highlights. First of all, the one piece of data that I've really been talking about for the past 5 years that we found from the initial version of the survey was when we did this survey in 2019, nearly 63% of parents said they hoped that when their child graduated high school, that they would go straight to a four-year university. And when I say child, just to clarify, parents were expected to think about this survey for their oldest child who was under the age of 18, because you could have different answers thinking about different children if you had multiple children in your home. But what we found is that in these 5 years, that number dropped from nearly 63% to less than 52%. So that's a very significant drop in just 5 years. That showed that parents were much more willing to think about other paths for their children after high school than purely only considering a four-year university. When we asked them if they thought that their child needed a bachelor's degree to be successful, we also saw a drop. We saw over 24% of parents said they felt that their child would need a bachelor's degree. Now it was less than 19%. When we asked them about their plans after high school, we asked parents what they think their child would say, which of the options their child would choose. The top answer that was, I plan to enroll in a four-year college or university after high school, went from over 52% to 44.5%. So this is a parent's perception of what they think their child would ask. We would love to be able to ask the children themselves, but new legislation that involves surveying minors really prohibits us from doing this. So this is the best tool that we have at this point in time to get information. But again, I hope someday that maybe we'll be able to do that. But this is what parents think their children would say they want to do after they graduate. As part of that question, when we looked at all the other choices that parents could pick, while we had a decrease in the number who said they thought their child would hope to go to a four-year university, we saw all the other options have increases. And while some of these are still pretty small, in many cases they doubled over what they were in 2019. So we found that 3.5% think their child hopes to go into an apprenticeship program. 3.1% want to get a job to save for their education. 2.2% join the military, and that was the one thing that stayed flat, pretty much identical between 2019 and 24. 6.3% said they think their child would say, I want to get a job. 4.8% chose other. 6.5% said enroll at a tech college. 9.1% said enroll at a community college. And 20.1% said not sure. And I'd like to point out that number because that number was much larger than it was in 2019 when it was only about 11%. So if anything, we know that parents maybe are a little bit more confused, but at the same time, maybe considering more options than they would have just 5 years ago. Then we specifically asked them about apprenticeships. I know the state has made a huge investment in trying to get apprenticeships much more on the radar for not only businesses, but families and young people themselves. And so again, when we asked parents what they would think if their child chose to go to an apprenticeship after high school, the percentage that said they would be very happy if their child chose to learn a skilled trade through an apprenticeship increased from 8.8% to over 18%, 18.3%. That's a huge leap in just 5 years period of time. And I think that's very reflective of all the hard work that's being done in this area. We asked a similar question about technical colleges. We said, we asked people, would you be very happy, happy, neutral, unhappy, and so forth about technical colleges. And the number that said they would be very happy if their child chose a technical college went up from 17.1% to 28.7%. So an 11 percentage point increase. Then we asked a follow-up question, why would you feel this way? And the number one reason was the same as it was in 2019, but it showed growth, that they want their child to go to technical college to gain skills necessary for their career. We asked the same question about community colleges, and again, saw growth. The percentage of parents who reported they'd be very happy if their child went to a community college grew from 21.9% to 30.3%, so an 8.4% percentage point increase. Of course, we know that the cost of higher education is certainly a deterrent for many people. And so that's one of the questions we asked was, do you find that the high cost of higher education has become a deterrent? And that number went up from 26% to 34.1% in that period of time. So that is continuing to be front of mind for many parents. When you think about the fact that really more than a third of Kansas parents said that that is a deterrent to them for their child pursuing college after high school. We also asked them what their feelings were about high school CTE programs. Again, something that our state has made a huge investment in the last decade. And the percentage of parents who reported they'd be very happy if their child pursued career training in high school showed great growth as well, going from 53.5% to 62.5%. So I think that's a good reflection that parents are pleased with all of the CTE options and probably as well the concurrent and dual credit courses that we are offering in our high schools. Then at the end of the survey, we asked parents their perceptions about different possible careers their child could go into. So we asked them, do you have a positive, negative, or neutral feeling about 10 very high demand jobs that we pulled from some of the most demand jobs in 2019? We didn't want to switch those jobs. We kept the same jobs so we can compare the data changes over 5 years. And we found that about half of them had more positive perceptions than they did in 19, and about half had more negative. So the ones that had growth and what parents felt about them as career opportunities, so how they would feel if their own child went into this field. We saw a positive perception change for welders, electricians, construction workers, heavy tractor trailer drivers, and administrative office assistants. And decreases, and kind of one common theme is a lot of these were careers that were pretty heavily impacted by the pandemic. So we saw decreases in people's feelings about their child becoming a medical technology assistant, a computer support specialist. That one was a little bit harder to understand maybe why that change. An elementary school teacher, a registered nurse, and a police officer. And certainly those last three are hugely important public servants to our world and our economy, and that we know that we need to get more people into. So some of that wasn't the greatest news for some of us who work in those areas as well. And then to me, this is kind of the ultimate money question of the survey. And ultimately with Higher Pass, our goal is to keep kids in Kansas. We want them to realize that they are great careers. They do not have to leave Kansas to be successful, contributing members of society. And so we wanted to see what parents felt. Are parents telling their kids to leave Kansas to go off and start their careers? And it was interesting to see that when we asked them, do you believe your child needs to leave the state of Kansas to be successful, that the percentage who said yes really varied only by 0.3% from what it did in 2019. So it was pretty stable, probably within a margin of error. What I would love to, again, ask is, what do young people think? Do they think when they're 15 years old that they have to leave the state of Kansas? That would be a data point I would love to be able to get someday. But until I'm able to get that, knowing what their parents think is the next best thing. So I think it's a very optimistic note, but something that'll be interesting to watch moving forward. So to kind of sum up, in short, what we found, since 2019, Kansas parents have become happier with the options for their students to pursue career and technical skills in high school. They've developed a more positive perception of both apprenticeships and technical colleges, as well as community colleges, and then developed a much more positive perception of skilled trade careers, including construction workers, electricians, and welders. And then likewise, over the last 5 years, they've become less convinced that their child must attend college to be successful. They've become more concerned about the growing cost of higher education and student loan debt. And they developed a more negative perception of some key public service careers, especially nurses, teachers, and police officers. So again, we have a full, I think it's around 19-page long report. If you want to get more into the nitty-gritty of what we found, this is a little bit.ly because it's a long address to find on our website. If you want to take a screen grab, you could go back and look at it, or you could ask April to send it to you. I'm sure she would very willingly do that. But it's some very interesting data. And I hope that Higher Pass is still here in 2029 so that we can continue to measure these points and look at that in the future, because I think it's pretty amazing how quickly a lot of people's thinking has changed about the topics that we're spending all of our time going out and encouraging people to learn more about. So that is what I brought to share with you today. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Okay, any questions, comments of Kristen? Well, we appreciate
I'll
Someone,
comment, Kristen. Thank you for the report and the notification of the new videos.
Thanks, Natalie. I appreciate it.
yeah, thank you
Thanks.
for, the message, and it's to help elevate the awareness, not only with the parents, but hopefully trickle down to students too, of really what it's available and the options, and the path that they can put themselves on to go on, wonderful variety of careers. So
Absolutely. We don't know if we're going to get many seventh graders to go out on their own and do this research, but we hope that between the parents and the teachers in their lives, we can get this information in front of more and more young people so they can take advantage of their opportunities when they get to high school.
well, thank you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Merry Christmas to everyone.
Okay, we'll move on to our agenda. Next item is our Kansas Micro Internship Program update from Senior Project Director Tim Peterson. So, Tim, we look forward to your report.
Thank you. Let me pull this up very quickly. It's not nearly as nice as Natalie's was, but hopefully it'll, oh, that's the wrong one. Let me try this again. Okay, hopefully you can see that.
There we go.
Try to do full screen here and move this out of my way. I think it was just about a year ago that I gave you an update. A lot has happened since then. And I'll just kind of give you a quick overview of that and talk a little bit more about our plans for next calendar year. So we launched almost 4 years ago as a pilot project with a little bit of funding from Kansas Department of Commerce, thanks to Member Bean and the DeBruce Foundation in Kansas City. Thanks to increased funding, $500,000 this year from the Kansas Department of Commerce and the Strada grant, there's no cost for the institutions to participate. And we've gone from 2 no-cost short-term micro internship work projects for employers to 5. So we think that's a nice benefit to them. And as of December 2nd, we had nearly 3,000 students registered, nearly 400 organizations and entrepreneurs. Those organizations include both Kansas businesses and nonprofit organizations. And as you can see from those numbers, our main challenge remains trying to get more businesses and entrepreneurs involved with the program. So beginning next month, we're going to be launching a much broader, bigger promotional campaign that will involve some new kinds of things, including, I hope, with a statewide video promotion through the Kansas Association of Broadcasters public partnership program, which I think about 7 or 8 other state agencies have used for a number of years because of the cost effectiveness of it. You've seen some of these examples of the employers who've benefited from the program. Zenotech in Kansas City, Adams Brown is a accounting firm across the state. River City Engineering in Lawrence was one of our early clients. Miami County Department of Economic Development, Ford County Department of Human Resources, Pittsburgh Arts Council, Spirit Aerosystems in Wichita, more recently the Kansas Chamber of Commerce, and the Kansas Hospital Association, with which we formed a new partnership, and I'm going to talk quite a bit more about that. But as you can see, we've gone from entities like Miami County Department of Economic Development, which has 2 staff, to Spirit Aerosystems, which has 16,000 employees spread over, I think, 5 countries, despite some challenges that they've had in the recent year. The Business Higher Education Forum is kind of a group of Fortune 500 CEOs and university presidents. They've been around since, I think, 1978, trying to look for innovative approaches to post-secondary education, the workforce, and the broader economy. In a report that was issued earlier this year, they found that over 3.5 million students completed some kind of an internship, college students in 2023, but 1 million more than that tried to get one, but didn't have any success. Half of the survey respondents' businesses So they had challenges finding qualified interns. And particularly 2-year program students face stiff odds in securing an internship, particularly a paid internship. And as I've referenced earlier and in the issue paper, if you get a paid internship while you're in college, you're much more likely to get a job or more job offers and a higher starting salary than if you didn't do that. The National Association of Colleges and Employers did some research, actually, I got the wrong date there, it was 2023, where they stated, although new college graduates looking to enter the workforce and employers hiring them agree on the competencies that are most important for jobs to hone, their perception of these proficiencies differ widely. And here's just a snapshot. These are the 8 competencies for career readiness. Note the communication, there's a pretty big gap there. Critical thinking, another big gap there. Professionalism, a really big gap there. It was really only in technology that employers thought recent hires were more proficient than the students themselves. This is a group I wasn't really familiar with, but I saw a citation to this study in this month's issue of the Atlantic, cover story by David Brooks, where this Leadership IQ, it's a private company, survey company, admittedly quite a few years ago, tracked quite a few hiring managers from a variety of organizations that collectively hired more than 20,000 employees during that time period, and found that nearly half of those new hires failed within 18 months. And by failed, they mean they either were terminated, fired, or they got a negative performance review. That really caught my attention. I don't know of any particular surveys like this that have been replicated since, but this is what they found. It wasn't because people didn't have technical skills. It was because largely people skills, soft skills, what some places call durable skills, is what leads students to not do well in their new jobs. So going back to the Business Higher Ed Forum that I just referenced, they issued just, I think about a week ago, another new report that found that the business leaders they surveyed cited the top 3 most critical durable skills as critical thinking, problem solving, teamwork and collaboration, and communication skills. And when asked about these, as many half of the employers reported that new graduates are not entering the workforce proficient in these areas, particularly critical thinking and problem solving, and that those gaps are becoming more profound in the past. This makes me wonder a little bit if perhaps the need for the mental health program that was referenced earlier doesn't have something to do with challenges that students, really a lot of people, not just students, are having these days with durable or people skills. So one of the things that we decided to do, this was largely spurred after Dr. Garcia's report to you. I think it was I believe in October. She gave the first report from the Kansas Center for Nursing Workforce out of KU School of Nursing. I think Dr. Garcia, among other things, pointed out that nursing education enrollment in the state is down about 39% in the past 10 years. Although it's certainly good to hear that, particularly with the ADN degree students, that they're knocking the exam out of the park. But the point being, we have fewer students doing that. And as you all know, we heard this from President Flanders at our all-staff meeting last Friday. The college going rate in the state in the past decade or so has also dropped about 10%. So we decided to actually create a pilot program with the Kansas Hospital Association. It was a little bit different than most of what we're doing. And basically, it's kind of a research or an exploration project that's designed to help students learn about all of the incredible healthcare careers out there, including the new apprenticeship programs that Commerce has sponsored or initiated in conjunction with the Hospital Association and other organizations. I think Jaron Caffrey told me the other day that 14 of the 120 community hospitals in the states now have apprenticeship programs, which was news to me. So in this project, students will actually spend about 20 hours, get paid basically $18 an hour, $360, to first complete the Agile Work Profiler. This is a 15-minute online free sort of assessment of what students like to do and what they think they do well that the DeBruce Foundation created nearly 10 years ago. And then they'll need to complete these 6 10-minute online durable skills micro lessons. We partnered with another company, this one out of California, called Skills Align. They've been doing this a number of years in a number of different states. I'll get to that in a minute. That help address some of these durable skills that seem to be lacking. Then they'll be paired with a Kansas Hospital Association member through the association. Could be a doctor, could be a nurse, could be non-clinical position, could be an IT person, an HR person, finance director, environmental services director, what have you. We do ask the students first to say, have you had any experience in healthcare, and what kinds of healthcare careers might you be interested in? Once they have that interview in which they'll ask the person, what kind of a challenge are they facing in their particular role in healthcare? And then once they've done that, they'll research how that challenge is being addressed by other healthcare professionals. They'll then do a brief PowerPoint. We provide them a template for that, or some social media templates for a presentation, not only to that KHA member, but so that they can include that in their LinkedIn account. They can include it and share it with their resume and other documents to employers to show what they've already actually learned about healthcare careers. And then most importantly, we ask them to write a short reflection essay on the impact of the project in terms of they're thinking about a career in healthcare. Some of them may say, that's not what I want to do. I'd rather be in HVAC or plumbing or communications or whatever. But we think this will really help students get a better idea, at least with respect to healthcare. If it's successful, we hope to expand it to other high demand, hopefully high pay occupations in conjunction with other professional associations across the state. This was going back to that rating, that competency that NACE saw, where the employer rating was only 50% compared to 85%. These are the 6 micro lessons from Skills Line that we chose for this particular project. Basically basic stuff like show up ready, be an active listener, check for understanding, make sure you know what your supervisor or team is expecting, take some initiative, pay attention to detail, produce good work. This is not rocket science, but it's an area that employers have found shortcomings. So some of you, I think, have heard from Jaron Caffrey previously. I think he gave a presentation not long ago about the upcoming virtual healthcare day that the board and the association will be doing in January or February, I think. And he really got on board with this pilot project because, to his credit, he actually selected a student named Lindsay from Salina Tech to survey all 105 county treasurers over the past 10 years to find out how much revenue they've actually spent on healthcare related issues in their counties. And she knocked it out of the park. Basically, Jaron said they didn't have the staff or time to do it. They didn't want to outsource it to a third party. So they hired a student from Salina Tech who did a great job with it. So what I'm going to share now are a couple of his slides and some from Skills Line that we presented on December 5th at the annual Kansas Association of Colleges and Employers Conference at Johnson County Community College. And this gives you a little idea of what Jaron is trying to do in terms of his role with the association. They're working pretty hard to develop a resilient healthcare workforce and increase the workforce supply through a pipeline of talent. I was pleased to hear President Carter talk about the community colleges focusing now on pillar 2 of the strategic plan, the talent pipeline, which is what the micro internship program has been about since inception back in February of 21. So they're trying to promote hospital and healthcare careers and develop tools to enhance recruitment and retention, collaborate with stakeholders to optimize number of graduates who stay in Kansas, and to identify and communicate innovative emerging trends and technologies. I neglected to mention that this pilot project that I just described, like all of our micro internships, are open to high school seniors who are enrolled in one or more dual or concurrent enrollment credit programs. They need to be 18, which is why it kind of limits it to high school students. So we will make a greater push this year, particularly with the High School Principals Association and Member Clark with KSDE, to try to make sure that high school students are aware of this opportunity. I mean, think about this. Students can spend 20 hours learning about healthcare or some other occupation and get paid $360 to do it. and connect with a professional in that field who hopefully will view that student as a future hire. That's what we've always really been trying to do, is simply connect more college students and now high school seniors with Kansas employers and keep them in Kansas. This is just a picture of what the healthcare workforce challenges look like in the state. Things have gotten a little better since the pandemic, but you know, there's still a 19% turnover, still 13% vacancies. And I gotta say, as I think I'm the oldest staff member with the board, you know, it may not be too far down the road that I'm in one of these facilities. And if so, I hope they have a full workforce, just saying. Here's a table kind of showing you that same data in a different form. 5,000 vacancies. You know, this was taken this year, survey of 110 of their member hospitals. We're only down 200 physicians, but that's quite a few actually. So this is how the association is trying to address the pipeline issue in terms of their workforce. Awareness with K-12 students, developing interest through exploration events and internships like this micro internship, and then obviously enrollment in programs with support from healthcare organizations, be those local or state organizations like the KHA. So I talked about our partner Skills Line, this company out of California. The co-founder actually lives in Chicago, which oddly enough is where the CEO of Parker Dewey, who runs our platform, also resides. And it was actually Jeffrey Moss, the Parker Dewey CEO, who made the introduction to Skills Line. And they're all about developing these durable or human skills through a variety of means. And they've got basically 3 pillars, if you would call it: trying to help people understand and manage themselves, trying to work effectively with others, and trying to take action in pursuit of a goal. So again, not rocket science. It's the foundational basic stuff that if an individual or an employee is not good at, they're probably not going to be successful, you know, unless they're a sole proprietor, LLC, but they, you know, don't have to work with other people. This company has worked very hard to try to make this as easy as possible for learners in a variety of settings with K-12, post-secondary, workforce development groups, employer organizations. They've worked with a number of groups, including the state of Indiana, JAG in Mississippi, or Louisiana, I believe. They just entered a new partnership actually with the DeBruce Foundation, and they're working with a school district in Washington State to teach these same kind of skills. They actually have 100 of these 10-minute lessons that are really kind of intuitive. They follow kind of a Socratic contextualized method where they begin by asking students some simple questions, and then they sort of lead them into, you know, some good examples of how, you know, if you're in a confrontational situation with a supervisor or team member, how do you de-escalate that? How do you turn that around so that it's a productive encounter or use of time rather than, you know, he said, she said, and, you know, I'm the expert here and you can't tell me what to do kind of stuff. These are a couple of quotes from the 5 students who actually participated in this pilot that we launched in November and just wrapped up. And as you can tell, and these basically have come from their reflection essays, it's almost kind of surprising to me that, because this just seems like it's so self-evident, but you know, I'm still guilty on occasion of sometimes letting my emotions, you know, run my mouth instead of my frontal lobe. So I guess it shouldn't be that surprising, but we're hoping that through our Strata grant, which by the way, just last Friday was approved for calendar 2025. This was a 2-year grant that we received. There were about a dozen of these that Strata did, from Hawaii to New York to Florida and all across the country. And for our purposes, we were trying to engage the community and technical colleges and their students with the program more than we had. Heretofore, we had, I think in our history, about 82% of these grants have or projects have gone to the university students. So we really wanted to increase the number of the two-year students because I don't need to tell you, half of our undergraduate students in the state are enrolled in the community technical college. And there's a ton of talent out there. And you and I both know that particularly larger companies like Coke or Cerner or Garmin, they're not going to Dodge City or Colby probably for a career fair. They're probably going to Wichita State or KU or K-State. And they're missing a ton of talent in the process. In fact, one of the projects that was done for Janet McRae, the Miami County Economic Development Director, past president of the Kansas Economic Development Alliance, was done by a Fort Hays student who was an online student, actually from California, but they were a degree student at Fort Hays who helped her clean up a 10-year-old Outlook file with 6,000 contacts. And that made Janet a believer in the program. And she posted another project that a student from K-State did on creating a short presentation on how AI can be used for small businesses. But what's really neat about this extension is we're hoping all 25 or 26, whatever the number is, of the two-year schools will join us this year. Each will be eligible for a $5,000 subgrant, basically to continue to hire or appoint a liaison who will coordinate and promote the program. We ask that they subscribe to the no-cost Parker Dewey portal subscription that I think I described to you previously, that will give them real-time data on the students who have applied for projects, registered for it, projects they've been awarded, the employers they're working with, how much they've earned, and most importantly, the feedback they receive from those employers. They'll have that data at their fingertips. This will allow us to do 200 more paid, no-cost student projects, all of which will have access to these skills, durable skills micro lessons. We're carving out 50 of these for the Kansas Hospital Association. We're going to try to roll those out in waves of 10 beginning in February. We do hope to see some concurrent enrollment high school seniors participate in that. And if we're successful, we're going to try to partner with other state associations across the state because we know they have the same workforce issues as the Hospital Association and everyone else. Our KCK campus liaison and President Carter talked about the many good things going on at KCK. This was one he didn't mention, which is not surprising, and that's fine. But just this fall semester, KCK had 58 students register, 20 of whom were awarded projects. Not all of those have been completed, but more than half have. And they've done a fantastic job. We asked the liaisons to do a brief report at the end of the spring, summer, and fall semesters. And this is what Danielle told us. Can't think of anything right now. Think the program has all the right things in place. Parker Dewey has amazing resources to use for us. Just need to keep working on outreach and education for both students and employers. In other words, we need to get the word out. I don't mean to be a zealot, but we do need to really ramp up, particularly get more employers involved and on board. And I might just add that as of November, when I looked at the number of students who were selected by employers, I think this is really good news. There were more students selected from the two-year colleges than the 3 state regional universities or the 3 state research universities, which is a way to say I think we've turned the corner finally in getting more students involved. So I hope that with the renewal of this grant, which is almost $300,000, we'll be able to really take this to the next level at this point. So let me stop there and try to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Any questions, comments from the information that he shared?
Tim, this is Mike. What's the growth been like compared to last year? Do you have the data chart or something you could share with the group? If not now, maybe next month or next time we meet.
I get those monthly from Parker Dewey. The growth has been better, as you can see by the totals, but not as much as we had hoped, Member Bean. And I will certainly have the second quarter report for Commerce and You by the end of January, and I'll share that information with the entire group so they'll be able to see all of that data.
Thanks, Tim. So I'm going to think out loud a little bit. So would it make more sense to brand it our own instead of Parker Dewey?
We've tried to do that. That's why you see on the slides, you didn't see the Parker Dewey logo, you saw the KMI logo. one of the
Right.
things, for example, we plan to
But we
do.
keep referring to Parker Dewey is what
Yes, and the only reason I do that is because they have been seriously in my 40-year career in higher ed, primarily in continuing education. So I've worked with a lot of private sector vendors and companies. They've been by far the best partner I've ever experienced. One quick example of that, I didn't want to belabor this, but on this pilot with the KHA, their staff, at no cost to us, other than embedded in our contract with them, created an online resource guide for the students to follow. So here's step one, you do the Agile Work Profiler. Here's step two with links to all of these. Here's how you do the micro lessons. Step three, here's how you prepare the kinds of things you want to ask in that information from you. Step three, here's a template for the PowerPoint presentation. Step four, here are the things you want to do post-interview and the things you don't want to do. They have done branded websites for any institution that wants it. They have done, with this portal now, they have marketing email templates, flyers, posters that again can be branded with the push of a button to access. So I don't mean to be, touting them other than to say the kind of support that they've provided to us have been nothing short of phenomenal. But we do want to brand it. And as one quick example of that, in our promotional campaign beginning in January, one of the things we will do is we will be a premier sponsor with KEDEA, the Economic Development Alliance, which will get our logo on their homepage, along with lots of other ways to promote the program through their membership.
Okay, thanks.
Dave Rice, I have a question.
Yes.
Now, Tim, how's this information disseminated to the two-year colleges?
Well, we early on entered agreement with the presidents. I'll be sending out a new one here, if not next week, early January. Just sent it today to Legal Counsel Finance. It's actually a shorter, simpler one page with the attendant DA 146A state provisions. In addition to that, with the 6 institutions that we've worked with this year, 4 community colleges, 2 of the technical schools, although late in the game, Johnson County and Salina, which weren't part of the original program, kind of joined us. We have monthly meetings with the campus liaisons who promote the program, and they in turn work with faculty, advisors, career counselors, VPs for instruction or academic affairs to really spread the word. So we really rely heavily on the staff at the institutions once we've identified that point of contact to get the word out. And I think that's why you see, the success that we've had at KCK. Neosho County has also had a lot of success. Johnson County they have a full-time person whose position is internship and employer relations. We'll probably see a lot of activity there. But the reality is many of the institutions don't have a specific career center per se or specific career counselor. They do have academic advisors and faculty advisors. And lastly, we have tried to encourage, and I've attended a couple of program advisory committee meetings, because really those are the employers we're trying to reach. And in many instances, at least in my experience at 3 community colleges, many of those program advisories are adjunct faculty. So they're in a perfect position to communicate to students about these opportunities. I hope that answers your question.
Yep, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, any other questions or comments of Tim? Tim, I find it interesting that we have durable skills, we have hidden skills. Often
skills,
other
soft
times
skills.
it's been called soft skills, and then other times it's life skills. It just all seems to boil down to, how do I deal with people? We need people skills. I just find that interesting, but not surprising in many ways.
Well, given the sometimes in civil discourse in American society, I guess it shouldn't be surprising that those are still terribly important, whether it's in life or in work.
Exactly. I think it's critical. No matter, I don't care what kind of path you're on as far as a career. Very important. So thank you, Tim.
You're welcome.
Keep up the good work. Okay, we're going to move on to our agenda. System-wide general education update. And we're going to turn our attention to Director Samantha Christie Dangermod and Associate Director Jen Bonds Ratke from the Board of Regents Academic Affairs Unit. So welcome, ladies.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having us. This is just an informational item for the TEA that we were asked to provide, and so I hope that the TEA finds this useful. I am Sam, Christy Dangermond, and I go by Sam, and Dr. Jen Bonds-Ratke is going to cover the second part of this presentation. I'm going to start us out by talking a little bit about the system-wide general education, providing some background. I'm hoping everybody can see the full screen of my slides. Is that the case?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. So as you're likely aware, this plan, or Building a Future, the board's strategic plan, grounds our system's work in serving Kansas families and businesses while advancing economic prosperity in our state. And what makes the board's strategic plan unique nationally is its commitment to promising practices that are proven to drive progress. Additionally, the board's goals are closely aligned with this strategic plan. And I think I left off my first statement opening up here, and I apologize for that. I was just going to start by providing background on the system-wide gen ed and math pathways and how those initiatives tie into the board's strategic plan. So I apologize for skipping over that key piece there. Efforts to create a system-wide general education package go back at least as far as academic year 2021, when the board's #1 goal was to improve academic program transfer by creating a system-wide general education package to align programs under a common framework that guarantees seamless transfer. It was early that year that the System-Wide General Education Working Group was formed, and the work really began. The group focused on fulfilling this goal and aligning the general education package with the board's strategic plan. And the core elements of the strategic plan that relate to this work include decreasing the costs of degrees, increasing on-time degree completion, and increasing degree completion overall. Now, later, we're going to talk a little bit about math pathways, like I said, but I do want to mention those efforts, the math pathways efforts, are also tied to board goals. One of the board goals for academic year 2023 was related to the affordability and on-time graduation areas of focus under the family pillar. It was goal 2, formulate system-wide math general education courses and meta majors for the purposes of math pathways, and define the system-wide general education math course that is required for each respective system-wide meta major. And if you're not familiar with the term meta major, it's just a grouping of related academic majors within a broader career field. So as such, the model for the new performance agreements for academic years 2024 through 2026 that institutions enter into with the board was changed to be a project-based model, and it was designed around this goal to drive full implementation of math pathways, system-wide math and English course placement measures, and co-requisite developmental education by fall of 2026. Again, we will get to the math pathways later in this presentation, and we do hope to be able to return to the TEA in the future to tell you more about system-wide course placement measures and co-requisite developmental support. But now we're going to talk more specifically about the system-wide general education package and how it came to be. At the outset of the general education work in September of 2020, 14 out of 15 states in the central U.S. had some variation of a system-wide general education, with Kansas being the outlier, not having one. These states developed common general education packages and statewide associate degrees to ensure that there are clear pathways that enable students to transfer and apply coursework to multiple campuses. Though Kansas is a little behind, institutions have worked with the board staff over the last few years to create and implement a new system-wide general education package. That work started with the General Education Working Group I mentioned earlier. That group met monthly over the course of academic year 2021 and continued their work over the next academic year. By 2022 academic year, the board fine-tuned a board goal that I mentioned a few slides ago, and that was from the previous year. The new goal was to implement a system-wide general education package to align programs under a common framework that guarantees seamless transfer and reduces students' cost of attendance. The working group consisted of 19 faculty and administrators from community colleges, universities, and one technical college. There was also a 9-member General Education Implementation Committee consisting of registrars and transfer academic advisors. And really, it was both groups who helped to shape the system-wide general education framework and policy. And in June of 2022, the board approved that system-wide general education framework and associated policies as recommended by those groups, with the implementation deadline of fall of 2024. So that is the semester we are in right now. Now, some institutions implemented early, but at this point, all state universities, community colleges, and Washburn University have implemented this framework. Further, policy establishes a system-wide general education council to help the board president and CEO and board staff oversee the system-wide general education package. It should be acknowledged that technical colleges have a statutorily defined technical function that limits their degree offerings to the associate and applied science degree. You all know this better than I do, I'm sure. These degrees are primarily designed for workforce development rather than transfer and require a significantly lower number of general education credits compared to other degrees because of the high focus on technical content. As such, technical colleges will not participate in the system-wide general education package, but like the universities and community colleges, the technical colleges, of course, offer many system-wide transfer courses that have been identified for general education. And as such, high schools can now focus on offering general education courses through dual enrollment that will meet system-wide general education requirements at all universities and community colleges. Further, many of these courses will transfer to technical colleges and apply to general education requirements for the technical programs at those institutions as well. This is just depicting how the approved framework has commonly been communicated with 7 different discipline buckets and with the hours breakdown as shown. The framework requires a minimum of 34 to 35 hours, the variation depending upon whether the lab science course is 4 or 5 hours. Each institution's listing of courses for each bucket is verified by the System-Wide General Education Council, and all of this information can be found on the KBOR General Education website. I'm going to show you how to get there. To get to the website, one would go to the Academic Affairs menu of the main KBOR website and just navigate down to System-Wide General Education. So what you're seeing here is the main page that comes up for System-Wide General Education. And from here, you can navigate to other sub-pages within the section. Among other things, there is a specific page for exceptions for the 7-bucket framework and for the master course lists for each institution. And also embedded throughout the site and subpages are frequently asked questions covering things ranging from basic transcript and record issues to specific student scenarios and what-if situations. As this is the first full year of implementation of the System-Wide General Education Package, the board, the universities, and the community colleges are now entering into a maintenance phase. Institutions are updating their master course lists for the next academic year as we speak, and the General Education Council continues to meet regularly along with board staff, and they will review these updates at the January meeting to ensure alignment with the framework. They will perform this function annually. We expect this website to continue to be a resource for institutions, and we hope to have the master course lists updated shortly after March 1st for the next academic year. It's the hope that the System-Wide General Education Package will work as designed to create standardization for general education among institutions and to help facilitate seamless transfer across the state. And now we're going to talk a little bit about Math Pathways. I would like to hand it over to my colleague, Dr. Jen Bonzracki.
Thanks so much, Sam, and it's a pleasure to be here with everyone today. So getting started on Math Pathways, let's talk about college algebra. As you likely know, college algebra has traditionally been the math course that college students complete as part of their general education requirements. It was originally created to prepare students for calculus. However, national experts in the field of mathematics now indicate that only 20% of majors need the skills learned in college algebra. Still, for academic year 2023 in the state of Kansas, over 19,000 students enrolled in college algebra. It is likely, though, that only around 3,800 students would need the content from college algebra for their future careers. So we expect that to change over time. Next slide. In Kansas, there were 4 key developments that converged around the topic of math education reform, and we'll briefly touch on these 4. First, math reform has become one of the most significant changes at the undergraduate level in higher education. Next, KBOR's strategic plan that Sam mentioned earlier, Building a Future, adopted in June of 2020, emphasizes implementing proven practices that remove barriers and promote access, affordability, success, and completion. Third, the Future of Higher Education Council, established by the Board of Regents in response to Kansas legislature, approved 14 recommendations for the board to consider in 2020. The top 2 recommendations were co-requisite support and math pathways. And finally, the Council of Presidents expressed support for math pathways at the June 2022 meeting. So with these converging events, Kansas embarked on its math pathways efforts. The first step was identifying and offering 3 gateway math courses for academic programs at all institutions, giving programs greater flexibility in selecting a gateway math course that would align with the student's needs. These 3 courses are as follows: elementary statistics. In this course, students learn the basics of descriptive statistics, probability, sampling, confidence intervals, distributions, hypothesis testing, regression, and correlation. Contemporary math. In this course, students study logic and apply mathematics to finance, geometry, number sense, probability, and some basic statistics. And then, of course, retaining college algebra is the 3rd gateway course. It is important to note that the focus has been on bachelor programs at universities and transfer programs at community colleges. As we indicated earlier, the technical colleges have statutorily defined technical function that limits their degree offerings to the Associate in Applied Science degree, which is primarily designed for workforce development rather than transfer. These degrees require a significantly lower number of general education credits compared to other degrees because of the high focus on the technical content. As such, technical programs typically not designed for transfer may opt for a technical math course or one of the 3 courses identified for math pathways as appropriate. From May of 2023 through the summer of 2024, faculty members from across the state of Kansas gathered by discipline to discuss the most suitable gateway math course for students enrolled in their programs. By reaching consensus across institutions, students can transfer to any institution within the state to pursue the academic program, knowing that the gateway math course remains the same. This approach is particularly beneficial for our community college students. After these discipline meetings, the course decisions were confirmed by the university chief academic officers. We then asked institutions to work with their IR units to ensure KBOR's program inventory matched their internal records. The list of courses was then shared with the System-Wide General Education Council at the end of August, as institutions will be including these courses in the math and stats buckets for the Kansas System-Wide General Education Framework. Finally, the list of courses by programs was presented to BASC as an informational item. So we thought it might be interesting to take a high-level look at the types of programs and the gateway math courses that they selected. The goal is to provide a sense of the types of programs where each math gateway course will be most applicable. This word art depicts the types of majors that selected college algebra. Examples include engineering, chemistry, biology, and business. This next slide depicts the types of majors that selected contemporary math. Examples of these programs include humanities, art, and communication. And then finally, the last word art picture illustrates the types of majors that selected elementary statistics as their gateway math course. Example programs here include psychology, sociology, and criminal justice. And so while the word art is really helpful for understanding the big picture, we also need a clear mechanism to communicate specific gateway courses by programs. The KBOR website now features a subpage under the Math Pathways section titled Gateway Math Course Decisions. Here you can access the specific decisions made by the various programs. The decisions are represented in multiple ways. You can search by all programs across all institutions within the state, by a specific Gateway Math course, or by an individual institution. In the future, our goal is to make the Gateway Math course decisions available through the searchable program inventory on the KBOR website. Finally, this timeline depicts how the implementation of Math Pathways, and there's various aspects of that, right? There's the co-requisite developmental education, system-wide course placement measures, and we'll share those aspects that we haven't talked about today with you in the future. So we want to talk about how all of those are folded into the academic year 24 through 26 performance agreements. These agreements were approved by the board in May of 2023. As such, institutions will have had 3 years during which to fully implement Math Pathways. This year has focused largely on planning and development of course content through participation in KBOR-sponsored professional development sessions and executive implementation team meetings. By next fall, so fall of 2025, institutions are expected to offer at least one section of each Gateway Math course that applies to its degrees offered on campus. And by fall of 2026, Math Pathways is expected to be implemented full scale, with institutions having incorporated appropriate math courses for each academic program into catalog requirements and advising materials, and offering enough sections of each of the 3 math courses to accommodate student needs. As you can see, there are other things required of institutions, but we wanted to just cover the Math Pathways portion today. Again, we hope to come to a future meeting to discuss co-requisite developmental education and system-wide course placement measures for math and English gateway courses. We really appreciate your time today, and we will stand for questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments, response to what we've been presented? Well, I think you've done a good job, and we do look forward to you coming back. I just clearly, it's my understanding that the math requirement has often been a barrier for many students. And it's good to see that this has gotten attention and will continue to, I think, get more attention and as it's implemented. So thank you very much, and we'll look forward to the next time.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on our agenda, and we're going to call on Sharman Chambers, the Director Sharman Chambers, for academic year 2024 data summary.
Thank you, Chair Frederick. Good afternoon, everyone. I do not have a PowerPoint. I'm actually on page 48 of your PDF of your TEA packet. And just like we did last year, we wanted to give you a very brief overview of some of the data that's already available about academic year 2024. That's the year that the institutions just finished up reporting in September. And while funding is reviewed as quickly as it's available, we wanted to also give some more data around all of the student participation in a little bit more context. So I did a quick comparison of academic year 23 to academic year 24 in the first 4 charts of your document for specialized funding initiatives. And since I already had it, I went ahead and left the data on there for academic year 22. So we can just start to kind of get a sense of the trends and how things are changing. The first chart being the Excel and CTE, and you can see the increases in the student head count as well as the total credit hours that were delivered. And then in the second chart, we've provided a breakdown of the industry recognized certifications that are earned by our high school students in each of those 3 years. And as you are looking at that, concerning the decrease in the industry recognized certifications earned, it's important to address this as all of our other metrics are increasing in participation with Excel and CTE. So we're working with KSDE to take an entire system approach. We're going to be working together on communication out to the districts as well as the community and technical colleges to make sure that the education and guidance is clear about the accurate reporting. On the second page then of the issue paper, I have provided a breakdown of Accelerating Opportunity Kansas. AOK is how you'll hear that referred to. AOK serves adults seeking a GED enrolled in adult basic skills programs and concurrently pursuing a certificate or award in a CTE program. This provides incentives to colleges based on those adults enrolled in those eligible CTE programs and then seeking and earning either that GED, that high school equivalency, or an identified industry certification. And you can see those changes there. And then we also have the GED accelerator data there as well that I just hit on. It's important to note when we're looking at the funding. The funding is the calculated funding. It's not the actual funding distributions that were made based on the authority's approval in September is when we went over that. And then the final 2 charts, we also did this last year. This is data that's available in KeyStats. The first chart is for community colleges, the second for the technical colleges. And KeyStats provides reports including enrollment by head count, by program, and it also provides reports regarding then the credentials that are earned each year by program. And the credentials in this case refer to certificates and associate degrees. And these are the 4 credit programs, we would also clarify. So in this comparison, you can see the program type, the 2019 data, the 2023 and 2024 data. And then this way we're able to provide a 1-year change as well as a 5-year change percentage. So most significant increases in enrollment and credentials for community colleges in the 1-year change were in transportation, health professions, and precision production. Precision production would be your machine tool, your welding. And the most significant increases in both enrollment and credentials for the technical colleges in the 1-year change was in computer and information sciences, family and consumer sciences, health professions, and transportation. And the family and consumer sciences in this case refer mostly to the child care programs. And so also, we would just let you know that we have the KTIP highlights that we are working on to present during the next meeting. But like I said, we wanted to give you a brief overview of AY24, and I would stand for questions.
Yeah, any questions or comments for Sharman? Well, we'll look forward to additional report in the near future. So thank you, Sharman. Okay, next on our agenda, we have a report from a new team member or newest team member, Associate Director Jamie Whitmore on Carl D. Perkins Core Indicator Performance. So welcome.
Thank you, Chair Frederick. I'm just going to give a brief overview about performance incentive grants that were just given out to institutions on December 1st. To give a little bit of background, Perkins 5 law mandates that institutions must set goals for certain categories of performance, and those are called the core indicators. Then they work toward achieving or exceeding those goals annually. We provide incentives to the schools who meet 100% of their target goal, and the schools can use that incentive for any Perkins approved expense like equipment, staff stipends, that kind of thing. So in the post-secondary world, we have 3 core indicators that we track, and each institution reports annually that data to us. The first core indicator is 1P1, that's post-secondary placement. This tracks what students are doing 6 months after completing their program. So did they enter the workforce and are employed? Are they still in school or pursuing further education? Did they join the military? That kind of thing. The second is post-secondary credential, that's 2P1. This is the percentage of students who received a degree or certificate while in their program or who completed within 1 year of exiting their program. And the third one is non-traditional concentration, that's 3P1. And that's the percentage of CTE students who are in non-traditional programs for their gender. So think women in automotive tech, men in nursing, that kind of thing. Each year, as part of their Perkins application, institutions have to negotiate their target goals for the upcoming academic year. They look at last year's performance data and how they ended up there, and then the upcoming goal is set a little bit higher. If they reach that goal, they receive an incentive for each core indicator that was achieved. So 1P1 and 2P1 are worth $2,500 each. We incentivize 3P1 a little higher just because it's more challenging to improve that number because of, gender stereotypes and stuff, depending on what part of the state they're in. And if you look at the table on page 53 of your packet, this is showing the total incentive each school received for fiscal year 25. The far right column is showing you which of the core indicators each school achieved. And remember, institutions had to meet 100% of the target to receive funding for each core indicator there. So that is the summary of the incentive grant. I'll stand for any questions you have.
Okay, any questions? All right, thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, just a reminder, our next meeting will be Thursday, January 30th, 2025. And that will be an in-person meeting in Topeka at 10 a.m. So I trust all of you have that already on your schedule and plan to be there and present. So, all right, any further business? Okay, hearing none, then I call this meeting adjourned. Thank you to all. Well, Merry Christmas first, and then Happy New Year. Be safe.
Thank you. Merry Christmas to you.
Thanks. Happy holidays, everybody.